question would you like to ask vegan games? And there's a lot of responses, but the first response, well, the number one response, the most highly voted response was, why are you such a cunt?
Well, I think everybody else is a bigger cunt. So,
That's a good response. I like that. You're a very angry person. That's the way you come off anyway. I don't think you're like that in the majority of your life, but you certainly come off as a very aggressive individual.
yeah, I'm pretty angry. I've had really severe anger issues before. I've calmed down a lot. But no, I can be pretty in your face in real life.
What were your anger issues before? What happened?
I just have insane, extreme anger outbursts where I'd like punch holes in the wall, shit like that.
Like as a child or as an adult?
All my life. It was just extremely explosive anger that I just couldn't control. Like you literally feel like you're gonna explode. It's under control now where I don't get that insane level of anger. It took a bit of therapy, just took a bit of practice as well, just calming
Mm.
myself down.
So
Yeah.
what do you do to calm yourself down?
I just try to put myself out of the situation. So, you can kind of get inside your own head a little too much and work yourself up. And I just try to think of myself as like a third person. And yeah, I kind of have to visualize myself out of the situation and look at the big picture. And when you kind of look at the bigger picture, it's just not important. Like if
Do you
somebody
think
pisses you off and gets on your nerves, it's like, okay, well, they don't mean anything.
do you think that YouTube is the best place for you to hang out on then? Like everyone's sort of coming at you from all angles. Do you think this is the most appropriate place for you to spend a lot of you seem to be online a lot. If you anger easily, and that would, I imagine, affect your life in every sense of the word, is that sort of something you should maybe avoid then?
No, I think YouTube's probably the best job for me. I'm fairly antisocial, and I think for an antisocial person, YouTube's pretty good. I can socialize as much as I want. I don't have to read comments, don't have to look at any videos people make about me. Um, I've gotten banned from Twitter, and I'm glad that happened, because Twitter is just absolute cancer. I think
Why were
Twitter
you
has
banned from
riled me up
Twitter?
more. So it was an alleged threat. I was having this long conversation with this person trying to set up a debate. They kept leading me on, and basically I just wasted a ton of time, and then I said, like, hope you fucking die and shit. And then Twitter, yeah, like Twitter basically took that as a threat and banned me.
You have threatened a lot of people. You wanted to like. Let's talk about the big fight between me and you.
Yeah,
Why
sure.
why was that your first response that you wanted to do? Like, I come from a part of the world in Australia where like fighting is like something you do when you genuinely hate a person and you want to hurt them beyond, any repair or beyond recognition of what they used to look like. And it seems to me that I made a video about you, you make a video about me, and then you go straight to a fight. Like it does come across like so childish that it is hilarious to look at. Like people look at you when you say that and just go, "Are you the full fucking quid?"
Well, I challenged you to an MMA match. It's a little
I
different
know,
than a
yeah.
fight. It's not like a street fight. I don't see the issue with that. I don't see that as any different than, I don't know, challenging somebody to a race or a game of basketball.
But I
Uh,
think if you get angry at me and
yeah, well, I want
you
to hit you.
you yeah,
That's why I
but
challenged you to a fight.
yeah, that makes sense. But even if you said let's have a race to work out who's the bigger man or who's correct, that still sounds like a 3-year-old is in this
No.
conversation.
So I
Yes,
might be
yes, definitely.
misremembering, but I'm pretty sure I actually tried to get in contact with you for a debate when you made your first kind of video about me. After that, I think you made a second response or something, and then I was kind of fed up with your nonsense, and yeah, I just wanted to fight you. Like, that's basically it.
So how do you feel about me now?
Still don't like you.
Yeah.
What? How come? As a sort of an not a full outsider, but someone who's
Yeah,
a bit of a third
so
party here. Where's the animosity stem from?
so it's not even because you're not vegan. The thing that irritates me the most about you is that you just seem like an opportunist. You claim to have moral values, like you're against SJWs, cancel culture, and then you behave exactly like them. I would say that would be the most annoying thing about you by far.
How do I act like someone who's
What's
pro
SJW? Sorry, as well.
social justice warrior?
Okay, yeah.
How what have I done in conjunction with the beliefs of someone who is pro cancel culture, if you will?
Yeah, well, you've literally said in, I think, your last response video to me, the one you did before, the one you just uploaded a few days ago, you literally said in the video that you're kind of in favor of canceling me. You've also made videos...
Not because I don't think you shouldn't be allowed to speak, but just because you're a bit of a cunt.
Yeah, well, that just proves my point.
But it's not like, no, I disagree so much with what Vegan Gain says that he should never be allowed to speak. It's just more of this man dribbles so much that I'd prefer not to hear it.
Okay, then don't watch me. Like, it's just very weird language to use when you claim to be against cancel culture, but then
if I didn't watch you, then how would I write a
me?
video every couple of months?
Yeah, but you're just proving my point. If you're against cancel culture, then you wouldn't use that kind of language where you're in favor of canceling me.
What language could I use?
So just say you hate me, you don't want to watch me.
But I don't hate you. I don't know you.
Well, sure, but I mean, it's just a very strange language to use.
I think you're a bit crazy. I think you're a bit crazy. I think you do some very interesting things. I'd be concerned to be in a dark room with you. I don't know what you really do, but I don't hate you.
Right.
I don't know you.
But like Butterfield, when you make videos, I think you made a video years ago. I've gone through quite a few of your videos on your channel. You've said, like, these cancel culture cunts, they'll bring up a video or a post you made like 5 years ago and then try to throw it in your face and, make a big deal about it. Well, you do the same shit with me. You're just like these, SGW cancel culture people that you claim to hate. You use their exact same tactics. You've brought up videos that are 5 or 6 years old about me that aren't even on my channel anymore in an attempt to character attack me. Like the baby stomping thing, yeah,
but why wouldn't I bring that up? Come on.
Hang on, someone tell me what happened here. So what's the baby stomping?
Would you like to explain that, or should I?
Yeah, sure. So I made a video. It was a video about why I'm never having children and why I'm getting a vasectomy.
Can you eat this raw?
Yeah, so what happened was I wanted to make a kind of shock joke in the video. People have taken that clip out of context now, so you don't see the comedic sting. And yeah, so you just see the crazy anger outburst. And yeah, I just pretended to be super angry, talking about stomping a baby. Like, that was the joke. And people have taken that out of context to mean I was serious and literally want to stomp babies.
No, it's a good bit. And what about the grandfather thing with when your grandfather unfortunately passed away, the heart attack thing? What about that?
Yeah, so when my grandfather died, I was filming it. He was abusive to me.
No, fair point. Why were you filming it?
Yeah, so he was abusive to me my entire life, and it was kind of a cathartic moment to film it and record it. It just felt like I was in control, and I got to he would kind of take a weird kind of sick sort of pleasure in seeing me feel like, he'd make me cry. He hit me a few times, and I think he kind of got a sense of control out of doing that to me. And then I kind of got an opportunity to do that to him.
I'm again, apologies. I'm sort of hearing this not for the first time or sort of aware of that. Mate, everyone gets hit by their parents and grandparents. If you're not flogged all the time, but that's not uncommon. I don't think that's a reason to feel.
It went beyond.
It
went beyond that. It was like a level of psychological abuse that was pretty bad.
Okay. So it's sort of like it's absolutely sucks that you had to deal with that, and I'm sorry that happened. That shouldn't happen anyway, obviously. But what goes through your mind when, or how do you try to defend, or even go back to the cancel culture thing? Do you not understand that people are going to bring that up and go, "This guy's insane"?
Yeah, you can call me insane or whatever. You can do that. But again, using that kind of language, you should be canceled. Like, that says to me that, oh, you should have your YouTube account deleted. You should have your social media deleted, you know? You should be shunned from society completely and, you know, not be able to get a job, like shit like that. That's what canceling means to me. So when I talk about somebody like you, like, yeah, I'll call you an idiot, I'll call you jackass, moron, I'll explain why you're wrong, but I wouldn't use that sort of language where you should be canceled.
I don't think you should be cancelled at all.
Okay, then it's just strange that you'd use that language in a video.
What did I say, that the world would be a better place if you weren't on YouTube?
I can't remember exactly, but I recall you saying that I should be canceled.
I don't think I would say you should be cancelled.
Yeah, I'm sure you used, it might not have been that exactly. I think you said if anybody should be canceled, it should be Vegan Gains.
Yeah. Well, I mean, cancel means different things. Do I believe that you should have your YouTube channel and everything taken away from you because you say dumb things? No, you should be able to speak however you want, you know, as long as you're not actually hurting people. I think, though, when I say on my channel, like, oh, I'm going to fight Vegan Gains, everyone knows it's a joke, but you genuinely want to fight people. They do. They know that it's pretend.
Dude, do you know how many fucking of your followers like found my Facebook and messaged me privately and shit and started like a whole conversation about me not wanting to fight you? No, people thought you were serious.
But what's that got to do with me?
Well, you claimed everybody knew you were joking when clearly that wasn't the case. I would actually say the majority of your fan base didn't think you were joking.
Do you not
I've interacted with them quite a bit.
Do you not think that's sort of part and parcel when you're having a YouTube beef with someone, a bit of back and forth, that kind of thing's going to happen when you guys have both got decent followings? Do you not kind of expect that at all sometimes?
What, that somebody might misinterpret what you're saying?
100%, or like that you like say,
this
might message you, or
you're going to have some idiots that go, oh, I'm going to go and message him privately or attack this or do that.
Do you not think that's part and parcel?
That happens everywhere. Like, people talk about this. There's this.
Okay. An MMA match challenge is not the most unreasonable thing, especially considering like big YouTubers like Jake Paul have set up boxing matches. So no, when you say very matter-of-factly, okay, sure, let's have an MMA match, I think the majority of your audience is going to take you seriously.
Okay, what I'm saying is you cannot control how people who watch your videos act.
Well, I know that, but the point I'm making is that when I make a, you know, sort of reasonable challenge, let's have an MMA match, especially in the context of YouTube where people are having boxing matches, and you state very matter-of-factly, okay, yeah, sure, let's have an MMA match. Like, that's how you said it. You didn't say, oh, yeah, sure, let's have an MMA match. No, you just said it very matter-of-factly. Yeah, the majority of your audience is going to take you seriously, but you're claiming the majority of your audience didn't take you seriously.
Obviously, pre-COVID, do you think it was ever a realistic thing that you two could have a stink, like with geographically?
But like when I was talking about it, like it's a half joke, but it's also, it could happen. But I don't think, and you know, I'm having a go at you here, Richard. I don't think you could generate enough money to make it worth my while. Nah.
I don't know. I know that you have a bigger social media presence than me and everything. Like, you're a bigger deal. If you were to contact, I don't know, like an MMA organization or a boxing organization in Australia and ask them about a promotion, no, they could probably set something up.
So you've done this not just to me. You've offered out a lot of other people, and it seems to be your go-to. Like, if you can argue veganism, you know, for until you're blue in the face, and I'm sure you do all the time. But it seems to be your next step is to offer them to fight you, and it just comes across as very childish. It comes across like you're in primary. Well, I know you just say no as if I'm incorrect, but I am correct.
Okay, so Right, so is Eddie Hall childish for wanting to like box Thor? I mean, if you have a problem with somebody, I don't see what the like if you hate somebody, I don't see what's childish about two adults, trying to work out the differences physically.
Okay, well, we disagree on that. Bluey, where do you come in on this?
Yeah, it depends on the disagreement. If I wouldn't, again, like a third party, I'm not in the YouTube community to the degree that you boys are. If it depends what the disagreement is, offering to fight someone over a YouTube video, I think is a bit fucking stupid. That's me. Like if someone's scratched your car or fucked your missus and that whatever, something real. This is all a bit of fun and make believe. I think calling people out for a fight over a video is a bit. That's my opinion.
I feel like, Richard, you don't have fun with these videos when we go back and forth. Like when you make a video about me, I'm like, yes, awesome. Here's some content. I don't think you act like that, do you?
Yeah, it's not fun for me. The reason is you don't take anything seriously. So you will. Great point is, like, I will say something about heart disease in a video. You'll respond by claiming, "Oh yeah, saturated fat doesn't cause heart disease," even though I think you don't even believe that. You just found some sort of contradictory thing in mainstream media.
Yeah, it's only contradictory to you. It's only contradictory to your information. Like it's like.
So well, I don't actually think you believe that. That's the thing. Like.
But I don't think that heart disease is caused by saturated fat.
Well, he must, because he eats saturated fat. So he must believe
you genuinely don't believe it. You genuinely believe
and the reason I don't believe that is I've seen several studies that point towards it, and then several studies that point away from it. I think it comes to a full. It comes down to your entire diet. Like if you eat a diet that's rich in saturated fats from meat, but all you eat is meat and veggies and beautiful organic, etc., etc. In comparison to someone who smashes hamburgers all day, eats a shitload of chips and sauce, and is eating too many calories for their entire life, is that the same? Will that saturated fat in the meat have the same effect on that person later in life and potentially? Do you really believe that?
Yes. So elevated LDL is the primary risk factor for heart disease, and saturated fat is the most powerful factor for elevating your LDL in your serum.
So what other factors are there?
So there's no other serious. Well, I mean, there are obviously other serious factors, like not obviously.
Smoking would be the biggest one.
And genetics.
Fat, but
do you get up and move around? All that shit, right? But
all of those other factors influence LDL. So being overweight itself will increase your LDL.
Yes.
Lack of exercise will increase your LDL. Lack of fiber will increase your LDL. Like these are all things that are tied to LDL. So LDL is the primary risk factor for heart disease. So anything that will elevate your LDL, like being overweight, lack of exercise, saturated fat, yeah, it will contribute to heart disease. So you're just plain wrong.
So I know that this is an argument with a lot of vegans about saturated fat. And I thought, I'm not going to compare studies because there are studies, and this, there are so many studies that point in the opposite direction. They're just
yeah, so just because there are studies that point in the opposite direction, that doesn't mean they have as much scientific weight behind them. There's a hierarchy of scientific evidence.
Yes. So if there's that many that are pointing in one direction and that many pointing in another, wouldn't it make sense that there is some conjecture and it's not hard scientific proof?
No, it is hard scientific proof. It's beyond any reasonable doubt.
So this is the problem with arguing studies, is because there are so many that point in one direction. And
the problem with arguing studies is you have to have smart people arguing with them, and the intelligence is only coming from one side in this discussion.
So everyone who says that saturated fat doesn't cause heart disease,
they're wrong.
They're plain wrong.
Dead fucking wrong.
And you're basing this on your experience as a
No, I'm basing this on research and the hierarchy of scientific evidence. Like, dude, the American Heart Association. Yeah, so, buddy, even if I didn't know how to read studies, guess what? The American Heart Association, the Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition, they've all conducted meta-analyses.
Americans are notoriously healthy, too. Americans are a notoriously healthy country.
Like, guess what? The biggest scientific bodies on nutrition that study these things, They agree saturated fat is a risk factor for heart disease.
Why is
So
the country so
like
crooked
you
then?
didn't like it's weird how you're talking about, oh, well, like bringing up studies. Dude, you didn't bring up studies. You found a mainstream media article. It wasn't a valid scientific source.
Okay. So what I found was an article that led to about 12 different peer-reviewed studies that looked in the other direction. And
Okay, you looked at a mainstream media article just because it links to studies or has a bibliography. It's not a valid scientific source.
so you wouldn't trust the mainstream on that.
No, I don't
But
trust.
you'll trust the American
So
Heart
I
Disease
don't trust
Association.
secondary sources, regardless of what it is.
How
if
is it
you're
a secondary source if there's a link there for you to go?
It's a secondary source.
Okay. Apologies to jump in, boys. I think we're kind of going to end up going around in circles on this one here. Can I ask for a second as a sort of take the conversation in a different direction? Where did your sort of staunch veganism sort of stem from? You as a bloke. So how old were you, and how did it come about?
Yeah, so I went vegan just before my 19th birthday, and
How old are you now? Sorry.
So I'm 30. Yeah, I'm 30.
Yep.
Yeah, and basically, I saw a video on Facebook. I think it was titled "Best Speech Ever Told" or "The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear" by Gary Yourofsky. He just went over all the reasons for why, like, you need to go vegan: health reasons, ethical reasons, environmental reasons, and yeah, just the argument was extremely convincing. I couldn't find any like excuse not to go vegan, and yeah, I went vegan right then and there.
Yeah, right.
Have you ever argued this with, say, a nutritionalist or a doctor that perhaps disagrees with you?
Yeah, so I have debated a nutrition PhD on my channel. Should be public. It's a debate with Roston C. PhD. He'd prefer to stay anonymous online, so he hasn't like made any photos of himself. But yeah, I've debated a nutrition science PhD. I've also debated a biology professor. I think, yeah, those would probably be the most educated people I've debated on nutrition.
And have you ever changed your mind of anything?
Yeah.
Of what you have?
Yeah, so I used to claim a vegan diet can reverse atherosclerotic coronary artery disease. I've changed my position on that. I don't believe it can. That was actually based on information I heard from a vegan doctor. So yeah, I've actually, there's a lot of prominent vegan doctors like Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn who claims that, and I disagree with him now because of new evidence.
Is that an issue? Is that an issue? Is that an issue throughout this argument when we go to different studies and we say, I say there's 5 studies that point this direction, you say there's 5 that point in the other. We have to think about who funds this study. Is it the meat industry, the dairy, the meat industry? Is it the vegan industry? Is it someone trying to push or sell something?
I don't really care about industry funding. I care about hierarchy of scientific evidence and the weight of the evidence in favor of like one position. Very clearly, when it comes to saturated fat, beyond any reasonable doubt, saturated fat causes heart disease.
And so one of the things that I said to Bluey, and I had failed in this podcast. I said I wasn't going to get in an argument about studies because that is for someone who looks at studies. I don't. This is not my life. I don't dedicate myself to arguing with people on the basis of nutrition. That's just not what I do. And that's what you do. And you're good at that. This is how you made a YouTube channel arguing with people. And I get that. I want to know more about how you feel towards animals. I know recently you said that we should be able to cull carnivorous animals.
Yeah.
Does that not fly in the face of...
No. So what a lot of people get confused is I'm in favor of killing carnivorous animals when it would reduce rights violations in the predator species. So say if you kill, I don't know, wolves, and that, somehow creates an environmental issue where all deer die, then I wouldn't be in favor of killing wolves. But yeah, the reason why I'm in favor of killing carnivorous animals is because I do believe veganism is a logical extension of human rights. I do think we should grant a right to life to animals, and that means protecting that right, whether it's humans trying to violate that right or animals trying to violate that right. So since you have a class of animals, predators, that are by their nature going to violate those rights, it only makes sense to want to cull that species.
So would you say that perhaps if here in Australia, kangaroo culling is very common and the kangaroos reproduce at a rapid rate, it gets to a point where in their area, they eat so much that the ground basically turns to dust. They eat the roots, causes erosion. And then the joeys or the young kangaroo or the older kangaroos have nothing to eat and they starve to death. Same for other animals in that area, ground-dwelling marsupials, that type of shit. Would you say that it is fair to then cull kangaroos for that reason?
Yeah, so whenever you have a moral dilemma like that, like should you kill a few to save many, I think it's important to put it in a human context. So if there was a group of humans that were consuming so much that they were going to deplete their food resources unless you killed them, do you think it's okay to go around and shoot a bunch of humans so that they don't deplete their food resources?
But these are not humans; these are kangaroos.
Yeah, it's a similar.
Like if you hit a kangaroo on the side of the road, should you go to jail for murder?
Well, I don't think you should go to jail for eating a human you find on the side of the road. There's like, if we're talking about, if we're removing any practical issues, if we're removing any practical issues and thinking about this in a vacuum, I don't see a moral argument against that.
There's no moral argument against you coming across someone who's dead on the side of the road and eating them.
Yeah, can you make a moral argument?
Because they're a human.
You can't eat people.
You shouldn't eat people.
Well, why?
Because they're people. They're the same species as you. There are different.
Right. Why is that an issue?
Why is that an issue?
Yeah.
Because they're fucking humans. That is the argument here.
You're stating a.
Would you eat a human?
Claim. Sorry.
Would you eat a human? Would you eat a human?
If I absolutely had to survive, otherwise I wouldn't be interested.
That's a fair fine.
Yeah, they've made movies about that cannibalism.
Yeah, there's widespread cannibalism in Liberia during civil wars. There was like a plane that crashed in the mountains and people ate each other. Like, it happens.
It's like a worst case scenario because they have nothing else to do. I get that, but that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah, but since I'm vegan and I do bove animal rights is a logical extension of human rights. Like, obviously I'd have the position where, like, obviously I'm going to make an analogous human situation to kind of base these moral dilemmas off of. So,
you were saying before,
if there was a situation where, like, a group of humans were depleting their food resources, would you be in favor of shooting and killing some of those humans so that they don't deplete their food resources?
Well, I guess it depends. Is it a civil war? What's happening?
Let's say it's not a civil war. It's just a poorly planned society.
Kind of like the one we live in.
Yeah,
well, I guess in generations past, maybe that would have happened.
Well, that's why people go to...
Yeah, but would you do that now?
People do go to war over resources.
Well, would I do that now? Maybe. It depends on the situation, doesn't it? If we're in a situation like the kangaroos are, where there is no food left, and you have to kill you have to feed your family, and you have to kill 2 other people, then maybe you do. Okay. Doesn't mean it's right, but maybe you do. Maybe you have to.
Yeah.
Maybe you're left with no other. Like with there was this. I said this on the Vegan Booty podcast. I don't know if you saw that. She was talking about a similar thing about culling animals, and she was like, no, never cull anything. Doesn't matter what's happening. And I was sort of the opinion that there are points in an animal's life, because animals, I know you'll disagree, animals are very different to humans. We are both animals, no doubt, or we are all animals, no doubt, but we are the superior animal. There is just no way
we're more
around
intelligent, sure.
100%. And the intelligence often rules who is on top of the food chain, who is the king of the jungle, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we haven't always been in that spot. I'm sure there's millions of years where we weren't in that spot. But I was saying to Vegan Booty, do you think that it would be if you care about animals and you really love animals, and I really think she does, I think you're more sucked into the religion side of things, but I really think she does. Would it be okay to, if you're a hunter and you take one animal's life with a bow and arrow, let's say, or a gun, and you take this deer's life and you take it at a point where it lives for, I don't know how long a deer lives for, let's say 12 years. You take its life and it's 11 years old. In the next year, it's going to get to the point where it withers away to nothingness, can't feed itself, and dies by getting ants, or an ant eating it from the asshole first. What is the more humane and the more vegan thing to do in that situation?
Yeah, if an animal has an interest in living and it can't give you that sort of consent, like kill me before I die a horrible death, the vegan thing to do is respect its rights to life or its right to life and let it live. Like, look, most people die pretty horrible deaths. Like, heart disease is a pretty horrible way to die. Cancer is a pretty horrible way to die. Those are the two leading causes of death. Is it okay for me to go into an old folks' home and just shoot up the place?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past you, but I think that there's other ways to look at it rather than comparing animals to humans every single time, because they're just not the same.
Well, we certainly aren't the same, but I don't see a morally substantive difference that would justify that sort of difference in treatment.
I think the argument is they're just not the same.
Okay, well,
it's why we don't have sex. It's why we don't have sex with animals. It's why you mate with. You know
okay, well, we're not the same. We have different level of intelligence. You have a bigger beard. We're different age. I'm black. You're white. Like, okay.
Yeah, but we all walk around.
None of these things. None of these things. Yeah, none of these things are morally substantive differences that would justify a difference in treatment between me and you. So, can you identify?
Yeah, but we're the same species.
Well, that's great, but can you identify a morally substantive difference between a human and an animal where it would be justifiable to violate an animal's rights, but it wouldn't be justifiable to violate a human's rights?
Because we have a hierarchy.
We're talking about the hierarchy of the scientific.
It's the same thing.
About before. There's a hierarchy.
What do you mean by hierarchy?
There's a hierarchy there's a hierarchy of humans here, animals below that. And we kill animals, we eat animals. That is the end of the argument.
What do you mean by hierarchy? Like, can you explain?
It's the same reason why you favor some scientific articles, like you were saying before. You favor some more than others because there's a hierarchy, mate. Some things come before others. Some are more dominant than others. Some are more important. Some are more important than others.
Well,
and the way that things have panned out in humanity is that we're on top.
You're still not really explaining yourself. Like, do you mean because we're smarter or better in some way?
But you know what?
We can change our environment.
I tend to agree that it's not a good argument that we're better.
I think it's a fine argument.
Even though we are, I tend to agree it's not a great argument because you could say, well, what should we put people who are disabled? Should we, get rid of them because they're not as good?
That's kind of the route I was going to go down. So
yeah, I fucking know what you're up to, you little shit. My point is that there is a difference between animals and human beings.
Right, but I'm asking you to point out a morally substantive difference. So, you're agreeing with me that, like, a mentally disabled human being, it wouldn't be justifiable to violate their rights, even if they're...
Because they're a human being.
Okay, so are you saying just because they're not human, it is therefore okay to kill them?
No.
Really?
I only eat autistic cows. That's...
What?
I only eat
okay,
autistic cows.
Do you actually believe that? Like, if you're not human, therefore it's okay to kill you?
No, but that's what we eat, isn't it?
Mm.
So that's not the reason why it's okay to kill animals.
What do you mean?
They're a food source.
Okay, well, humans are a food source. Like, if you've ever seen footage of civil wars in Liberia, guess what? Humans are a great food source. They taste like pig. I mean...
How do you know?
Yeah, how do you know?
I have heard from enough people.
How do you know pig tastes like?
Pig or human? Which one?
Yeah, we know what you're up to, you little bastard.
Well, like, again, I'm asking you, what is the morally substantive difference between a human and an animal where it's okay to violate an animal's rights, but it's not okay to violate a human's rights? And you've given me a few answers, but you keep walking back your claims.
Sorry, I'm just eating a steak. It's good. Medium rare. Who cooked this?
Okay.
Glenn did.
Yeah, look, I don't have an answer because I don't fully understand the question. I thought my answer
So
was
what clarifies as a morally substantial, whatever the rest of that was?
Yeah, so if we're talking about taking away rights from an individual, I think there has to be some sort of justification to do it. So let's say you have somebody who's severely mentally disabled and somebody who's perfectly, mentally capable. It might make sense to take away the mentally disabled person's rights when it comes to voting because they're not equipped to vote. And if there are enough mentally disabled people voting, it could harm the democratic system. So,
that's an interesting point. Is that actually the case? I'd actually
in the
sorry
US,
if that's ignorant.
Yeah,
if I'm being ignorant, I don't actually know.
In the United States, they did at one point, at least in certain states, they did ban people from voting who were deemed mentally incompetent, but it was a whole racial thing. They designed a bunch of tests that would prevent black people from voting, and actually, the tests were fucked. Even if you're completely mentally capable, you wouldn't be able to pass. So
it's a hard line to draw. It's like, where do you draw that line?
So yeah, that's the issue. So now they don't actually ban people from voting in the U.S. if you are mentally disabled, and it has to do with a lot of practical reasons, like how do you draw the line, how do you make the standard. There's a history of racism that banned people from voting. So
your country's really out for that, yeah.
Yeah. I'm from Canada. Yeah, not from the States.
Yeah.
But I mean, in a vacuum, without any of these like political issues, it would make sense to, bar mentally disabled people from voting. So, there are like that is a morally substantive reason for why you would want to bar somebody from voting. That's a trait, like, mental capability. That is a trait that would be morally substantive, that would justify taking away that right. So I'm asking you, what's the trait, like what's the important trait here that makes it justifiable to take away an animal's right to live and kill them?
Well, I don't think it's just one. Like,
sure, it could be multiple.
We shot on a farm a video. And we're there for a couple of days, and cows are some of the dumbest creatures that I've ever met, and it's almost like they are a walking butchery. Like just waiting to be taken.
So it's intelligence. So if you met somebody,
so it's the intelligence.
Okay,
but you can, once again, you're comparing them to humans. Animals are not human beings.
I recognize that, and black people aren't white people. Like I'm asking for a morally substantive difference.
Well, I don't see color personally, but
you're saying
made him smile.
Okay, so you're saying the trait is intelligence now. So if you were to come across a mentally disabled person who was as intelligent as a cow, it would be fine to kill them?
I'd eat their butthole. But the question, the real thing here is you keep going back to the difference of humans and animals. Is there a difference?
Yeah, there certainly is. I'm just saying there's not a morally substantive difference.
But would I ever be able to come up with a morally substantive difference?
If you were to play devil's advocate, because you're obviously highly intelligent and way smarter than we are.
Yeah.
If you were to play devil's advocate, I'm sure you've thought of this. Could you think of a morally substantive reason to eat animals?
Certainly. Sentience. If an animal did not have sentience,
they're not self-aware. Yeah.
Well, self-awareness is separate from sentience.
It's similar, though, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's similar, though, isn't it?
No, in order to have self-awareness, you'd have to have sentience.
You've got to know you exist.
Not... Well, animals know they exist. Self-awareness doesn't mean what you think it means necessarily. There are insects that can pass the mirror test and are self-aware. They know that when they look in a mirror, they're looking at themselves. So, like, does that mean an ant has as much moral value, more moral value than a cow because a cow can't pass a mirror test? So, like, self-awareness doesn't mean what you think it means, and I mean, animals, like, they're going to have some level of self-awareness. Like, if they don't know that they exist and they're an object in the world, like, they'd bump into things. Like, they have to know, like, okay, I'm here, tree is over there, I have to grab tree to not fall down, like... So, no, animals all do have some level of self-awareness. I would say a morally substantive difference would be sentience. If an animal lacks sentience, then sure, it's fine to kill and eat it because it can't experience well-being.
Are there any animals that lack sentience?
Plants.
Plants aren't animals, but yeah, plants do lack sentience, so it's fine to kill plants. It's fine to, I would say, outside of any other practical issues, if it, like, you know, if killing a plant ended up resulting in harming a sentient being, then sure, it's wrong to harm the plant because of how it affects a conscious creature. But yeah, outside of that issue, yeah, it's fine to kill or destroy non-sentient beings.
What about like mussels, oysters, those type of crustaceans?
Yeah, I'm a little agnostic. I'm agnostic on that issue. They don't have a brain or nervous system, so they're probably not sentient, but they do have nerve ganglia, which is essentially, you know, the first evolutionary step towards a brain and nervous system. And if you look at their behavior, like, they'll feel around their environment to determine, like, what way's up, down. They'll try to escape predators. So, I'm a little agnostic there. I'd lean towards them probably not being sentient, but just to be morally safe, I would say don't eat them.
Is it tiring putting so much thought into all this stuff? Because these are things that I've never ever...
Because like
no,
but this is why we struggle with these arguments, is because like I just couldn't. I would
have never given two thoughts to any of this without us having this conversation.
Not even once. I think we are so behind this argument because it's just like,
it's obviously things you've thought of a lot, and
who cares?
Yeah,
fuck them. If you're a cow and you can't defend yourself, fuck you. Fuck you.
So if we were to find a human that had similar characteristics to a cow, like lack of intelligence, you'd be fine with killing that human?
If it was a cow, yes.
No, I reckon you're the only bloke that would have ever thought of that comparison.
But you can't
like,
take everything back to, like, what if you spray some ants that are in your kitchen? Would you spray humans? Like, it's not an argument.
So no, the reason why it's okay to spray ants in your kitchen is because they are violating your rights. They're in your property. What if a cow's in your...
Oh, it's like in America when someone breaks into your house, it's like, I was standing my ground, and you just get to shoot them. Like, the ants are in your house, you're like, I'm standing my ground.
Well, yeah, they are invading, and if the only practical way to get rid of them is to kill them, then yeah, that's fine.
So you kill ants?
Yeah.
So you're full of shit.
I haven't needed to kill ants in quite a while.
I was standing my ground. They were in my kitchen.
What if a cow's in my kitchen? What if for some reason there's a cow in my kitchen? Can I kill it and eat it?
If the only way to get rid of it is to use lethal force, then sure. Like,
lethal force?
Well, there we go.
It would be the same if it were a human being. Like, if the only way to remove a human being from your property is to use lethal force, then it's fine.
Have you hit many road bumps in life comparing animals to humans all the time? Like,
the reason I do that is because, again, I haven't been shown a morally substantive difference between humans and animals, and you still haven't shown me a morally substantive difference. You've mentioned things like intelligence, but then when I bring up a hypothetical, okay, if a human had roughly the same intelligence as a cow, you would not be in favor of killing them.
All I'm asking, like, your day-to-day, like, practical sort of going about your day, is it your view on things, like you say, like the moral substantive difference between humans and animals? Does it impact you on a daily basis? Like,
no.
But your argument for this whole thing has been, well, what if that triangle was a circle?
No, that's not what I'm arguing. I'm just asking you what a morally substantive difference is, and each time you've mention something,
we agree that we can't
claim.
Come up with one.
How about this? For the rest of this podcast, you're not allowed to use the term morally substantive difference.
Because we've all agreed that we can't come up with one because, as we said, I've never given this any thought. Never ever given this any thought. That's what I'm asking.
So what's your justification for killing animals?
They're delicious.
I've never killed an animal.
I've never killed one personally.
Well, you pay for them to be killed, which I would say is essentially the same thing.
Well, they're delicious.
That would be my
We
argument.
just had a very nice steak.
Well, in doing so, you're committing an immoral act that's similar to, say, killing a mentally disabled
Don't you
person.
say human. Fuck, you cannot
It's
keep saying human.
Well, you agree. When you mention something like intelligence, and then I bring up the hypothetical of a mentally disabled person,
cows are not people.
you're against that.
Cows are not people.
I don't know. Cows are
Like,
not people.
again,
You
when
know that
we
cows are
run the
not people.
like when I asked you, okay, is it okay to kill something as long as it's not human? You've said no.
Yes, we've agreed we can't think of a reason why there's a moral reason, but we can agree
So then
that
you
cows
do
are not
recognize,
people.
right? So then you do recognize you're committing an immoral act that's comparable to killing a mentally disabled person.
Do you
No.
realize that humans and cows are different?
Yes, they're not the same.
We've already been over that. Like, yeah, cows have spots. They're bigger than us.
They
Yeah,
got
I
udders,
realize they're.
Others-
So a cow
realize
is not a
they're
mentally
different.
disabled person. So killing one and they're not. It's not like killing the same thing at all.
If I brought you
No, it
cornflakes
is.
and you wanted
Like,
cocoa,
again,
It's not.
No,
What?
again, there's
Again,
All right,
no.
all right, listen.
No. Everyone, no.
Can you explain to me
I
the
have
difference? Can you explain
Now
to
I
me the
have to
difference
step
between
in.
killing
No,
a cow
we
and killing a
fucking
mentally
can't.
disabled person?
We told you this. We fucking can't.
If you can't, then
just-
how can you claim it's different?
The difference is they're just not the same. That is
it's
the
just
difference.
what we do. They're not
There
the
doesn't
same
need
thing.
to
Yeah,
be a
that's-
study. There doesn't need to be an article written on it. The difference is they are not.
Right. Well, I can find two people who aren't the same.
Yeah.
Well,
but like
I can find
species,
two people who aren't the
different
same.
species. Yeah, but can we say like like a human being species, right? We can all agree that that's the same, right? Even though I know you're saying black, white, blah blah blah. We're all human beings, yes.
So the human
Well,
genome-
these are
human
just words.
no,
I can
no.
define
Yep.
human in a
Oh, here we
variety
go.
of
We can
different
get back
ways.
to we can get back to definitions now. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So it's like, but yeah, okay, no worries.
Well, look,
Okay.
the Nazis viewed Jews as completely different species.
you saying you're a Nazi? Are you a
no,
Nazi?
No.
You're not a Nazi. Are you a Nazi sympathizer?
So these are just words. I mean,
everything's
I want
just
to
words.
hear a morally substantive
I know
difference,
you
and
do.
you still
You've said
haven't
that.
been able to.
You've said that.
I
present
said
one
you're not
yet.
allowed to say the word
And you're not allowed to
morally
say that
substantive.
anymore.
All right, you need to get a beer or something and
Yeah.
drink every time you say the word morally substantive.
It'd be a good drinking game. If you're listening to this podcast, every time
Yeah.
Mr. Gaines says morally substantive,
difference.
you're gonna have a
You got a
drink.
skull.
You'll be fucking hammered.
Should you shorten it to like?
MS.
Okay.
Uh,
Now I'm challenging you right now, Mr. Gaines,
to an MMA fight.
to one. You have to smile once in this podcast. I don't want to let you go until you smile at least once. All right.
Okay.
We're gonna wait here until you do.
What
What's wrong?
How's OnlyFans going?
Okay, like I don't really upload much right now just because I've been sick. I'm just too exhausted to do really anything. I haven't really
shots.
uploaded many videos lately either.
It's
Yeah.
it's very bold. Like I take my hat off to any like male or female, anyone that does OnlyFans. Like that's a bold move. You gotta that's awesome.
Who's like? I thought most of the people who would watch your channel would be blokes. Is it just like? Is it mainly dudes that watch your OnlyFans?
Primarily, I'd say between 80 to 90%.
So what do you do on your OnlyFans? I've seen your partner's one.
Yeah.
What did you think of what did you think about the video I did on that? Okay, so here's a question.
Yeah, I was
you
wondering,
have-
are you gay?
I don't see a morally substantive difference between being gay and straight. But what are you
That's so
talking about?
good.
Am I gay?
Yeah,
on your
you
partners-
made a big deal about my wife having like a tiny bit of hair on her back. Like, most women have that.
Did you?
She had a bit of hair.
Do you like?
I-
Are you only
I'm
into
sorry.
like boys who shave or something?
No, I'm into ladies that shave. But I don't want to talk about your partner's hairy back. That is not what this podcast is about. What I wanted to know is, did you see any benefit from me making that video? Because that video I looked today, it's got like 700,000 views.
Because vegan
Yeah,
Vegan
a lot
booty
of
made
people. Yeah, a lot of people signed up to Jasmine's OnlyFans after that. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how much money she made, but it was a fair bit.
So you didn't hate the Butterfield that night.
No, I still thought you were an idiot, but it's convenient.
But it was a little bit less because there was some cash coming in.
Vegan Booty said she made $30,000 the night after.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Isn't that insane?
That's fucking awesome.
So what are you just jerking off on the OnlyFans or just dick pics or full?
Yeah, it's like just full nudes showing off my chest, body, dick pics, jerking off, stuff like that.
Sick. Nice. Sick. How does that make you feel?
Fine. Yeah.
Empowered?
Not really. It's fun.
How much do you make a month from OnlyFans?
It's usually between like 500 and 1,000. I'm not super active, so for the amount of effort I put into it, it's pretty good.
Would you ever consider like fucking a veggie or something? Like, I reckon you get heaps more viewers if you like had sex.
No, I'm not into that. Yeah, like vegetables are kind of hard and stuff, and it doesn't seem comfortable.
Hit the G-spot, bros.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem comfortable.
Okay. Is there any questions you have for me?
Don't say morally sensitive.
Yeah.
Don't say it. Don't fucking say it. Don't.
Oh,
the smile. We smiled. Yes, he smiled. We got him. Yes.
The first people to make vegan gains.
We fucking did it. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I mean, I don't know, man. I think. Would you concede this, that there's a lot of things that I would believe in my own mind that you would agree upon?
Like what?
Well, you'd have to say that's very vague.
Yeah, but
I
love God.
That was a terrible question.
No, like, maybe politically speaking, or
I don't know what your political beliefs are. So
okay. So, all right. Well, what about? Are you a Trump guy?
No, I think he's
a
moron.
Biden guy.
No, he's probably an even bigger moron because he has dementia.
He's a.
So we're probably pretty similar in that.
It's pretty crazy.
Will you concede that Trump is fun?
Yeah, he's a fun president. Like, it's
fun, but not someone you want in the role of feminist.
What's Canada's take on the sort of state of the US? Like, as sort of being where you guys are so close, like, what's a sort of average Canadian's kind of take on things in America at the moment and kind of the last 18 months?
Canadians kind of see American politics as like a clown show, and it's just gotten worse and worse.
So do Australians. So do Australians.
Yeah, I think the American political sphere is terrifying. And the fact that they have so much power is wild. Terrifying.
It's very wild.
Yeah, there's literally a man who should be in an old folks home.
He should be with the cows. Like, we should be eating Joe Biden. We should be eating Joe Biden.
Yeah, probably.
I was about to go back into that conversation. So no, I'm not doing it again. No way. What about Justin Trudeau? He's a bit of an interesting character.
Was him?
I can't stand him. He's a huge hypocrite in that regard, where he claims to be very progressive, and then you find photos of him in blackface. But I don't like him. The guy's a complete twat.
Man, he had that blackface come up, and everyone who loved him basically just covered their eyes and just went, no, not happening. This isn't happening. It's mad. Do you follow have you seen any Australian politics?
Yeah, a little bit. I watch Friendly Jordies.
Do you?
Yeah, Australian politics seem pretty terrible. Like, extremely corrupt.
It's an interesting.
It's fucking so shonky. It's very dodgy.
You think about how corrupt Australian politics is. It must be just tenfold in America.
Yeah.
Just the backroom deals and the lobbying and all that dodgy shit. I mean, I guess it's just politics in general. Yeah. Like, everywhere you look, it is just a heinous.
When you get to that level of power, it just corrupts.
It's like with Friendly Jordies, and my old man's the same, just obsessed with politics. Like, just loves. My brother studying basically political
nerd.
Yeah, well, he's studying business, but I think he's majoring in political science. And I just don't. It's the same with the veganism chat. It's like, man, I just don't have I don't know. I like just living my life. I don't have time to invest into becoming an expert on those conversations.
And it feels like, and I'm not saying this to be a smartass, but like with the similar sort of approach to, like, when you become that invested in something, similar with politics and similar with like the vegan argument, and if like your perspective on things, it feels so futile in a way. Like I know you can affect change in your own life, but like with like getting upset about politics, like my dad yells at the telly. I go, mate, like what you're not going to change anything. Like and all you're doing is getting upset.
And that's what Claire says too.
That's what.
But it's like if no one ever makes any change,
then nothing changes. You're right. You are right. And I suppose like I look at that like with what you guys do. Like if you feel so passionately about it, and maybe one day we will stop eating animals, like, you know, and whatever. But like,
yeah, I mean,
if you know, if people feel that strongly about it and they're willing to do something, but it's, to me, where I sit, I just go like, fuck, man, like just get on with your life.
I think the problem with the veganism community on YouTube at the moment is the biggest voices, Vegan Games, that vegan teacher, those type of people, to the outside world, maybe not to you. They're all hated in a way that makes people anti-vegan.
The message gets lost.
Like, I agree with the message about, you know, factory farming is horrible. You're torturing animals. Like, that's heinous, right? You know, I rescue dogs. I would never, that is just, to torture an animal seems absolutely horrible. If you're going to kill one, it needs to be quick, humane, all that type of shit. But where people lose the argument, or they lose what you're saying, is when you are aggressive or angry, or when you're a crazy person, like, or you run in like vegan booty covered in period blood into Victoria's Secret. Like, people lose the argument. They lose
sight of what you're
saying. They lose this whole
No.
attitude that you have. You can't say no.
I disagree with that.
And then I'm just wrong.
No. Yeah, I disagree with that. So, I've done IRL activism a fair bit, and I've seen people react in real life. Yeah, I've seen people react extremely violently to nothing. I think the reactions you see from people, it's primarily just because you're doing activism, not the way you're doing it. So when Tash like goes into a McDonald's or whatever it was with period blood, yeah, that might be a cherry on top, but what people are really latching onto is that she is doing the activism in the first place. Like Vegan Teacher, for example, like she's just singing silly songs on a ukulele, you know, like go vegan, blah, blah, blah. And people have doxed her. They found out where she lives. They've tried to steal her dog. They've like sent an innumerable amount of death threats to her. Like, the type of reaction she's getting from very unoffensive videos just shows to me that this isn't really about the way you're spreading the message. It's just that you're spreading the message.
Yeah, I think that people are angry no matter what. Like, people get angry at me. They try and dox me, or they try and send...
Yeah, but you deserve it.
I probably deserve it. But they just do that. I saw this report on the news last night of people being assaulted in Australia, like young girls who worked at a bookstore, because they're checking people's like vaccine ID
passports, yeah.
And it's
dude, there's a shooting in Toronto because somebody didn't want to wear a mask.
See, that type of shit. People are just angry. Like I don't think you should have to fucking flash your ID around everywhere, but you know, it's not up to the. And I also think that, you know, a 16-year-old girl shouldn't be requesting someone's ID at the front of a bookstore anyway. Like, hire a security guard if you're going to do that shit. Don't fucking put them on the front line with crazy people. Like, people are insane. There's no doubt about that. I think people are just angry. Like, they're just like, people are just fucking crazy. But there's no way around that in any point. There's no way around the fact that human beings are insane. Like, they just are. Like, there's just people. You never know what's going through someone's mind.
Most people do eat meat.
Ooh. Ooh. So you've never met an insane vegan?
No, I have. Yeah, there's definitely crazy vegans, asshole vegans for sure.
Is there any vegan talking points that you disagree with?
He said before.
Other than the
yeah, I wouldn't say like uniquely vegan talking points. There certainly are vegans I disagree with. But yeah, there's nothing about veganism that I disagree with.
Okay.
For you, you mentioned earlier on, you said there was sort of the ethical, there's the obviously physical effects. What's the biggest thing for you that you, I suppose, enjoy and what appeals to you about the vegan lifestyle? Like, is it the ethical thing that you don't have the guilt
It's the ethics.
murdering animals? It's the ethics. It's not the physical stuff. Like, obviously, what it does
No,
to your body
it's like, obviously I've had health benefits from going vegan. I did lose a bit of weight, felt more energetic. I had really severe suicidal depression right before I went vegan, and my mood did improve to the point where I didn't just want to die constantly. So
that's a bonus.
that was a bonus.
That is a bonus.
Yeah,
but I don't wish to bring this up in an attack on you in any way. But you have had ongoing mental health issues over the last decade or so. Is that fair
Well, I've had suicidal depression since I was about 6. That's when I attempted suicide.
Yeah,
6. Wow,
that's horrible, man. I am sorry if I've ever made you feel worse for wear. The videos that
yeah, you don't frustrate me that much where I want to kill myself. I just want to hit you. That's it.
I'd love to see this fight happen.
How would the fight go down? I guess that's the next question. What do you think would happen? The bell rings.
Can you give me some dimensions on you? How tall? How much do you weigh?
What about you said I was 185 pounds? You fucking idiot.
What's that?
Yeah, well, I didn't know you're that like 6'7" or whatever you are, but
6'8"
or 6'6".
Are you 6'8"?
I'm 6'8".
Big tall cunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm 6'3", 270 pounds.
He's not a small man. Not a small man at all.
No, he's a big dude.
What are you? Are you a stand-up man? Do you like the ground game? What do you think?
He's a Muay Thai fighter, aren't you?
I've practiced Thai boxing. Not very long, a few months worth of training, but I'm better at jiu-jitsu for sure.
Ooh, ground game.
What belt are you?
I never got to any higher belt. I just started off at white belt. Yeah.
Well, I didn't do it for too long. I got a white belt and 2 stripes. So
whoa!
Watch out.
This could be a very terrible fight. This could be a really, really awful fight between you two.
The bell rings and I just pull guard.
Anyone that paid their money would be like demanding a refund.
I mean, I'd be open to it, and I am open to it, and I've spoken about it before. My issue is with the whole thing is I worry that I've had too many concussions as it is, playing footy for so long. I've been knocked out too much. I used to play rugby league.
One more could be like...
And I worry that that's the one.
Imagine if he killed you. If he killed you and ate you.
Well, I wouldn't.
Imagine if he gave you the... Well, you wouldn't eat him, but you gave him to some...
You don't look tasty.
Bullshit.
That's something like when a gay guy knocks you back in a club. He's like, you don't look tasty.
I should put that on a
tour
poster. You don't look tasty.
You don't look tasty to him.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I've never been in a fight in my life. Have you been in a fight?
Yeah, plenty. Used to play competitive hockey, got into a lot of hockey fights on and off the ice. I fought kids at school. I've had I'd say one really serious street fight, basically.
What about like a tables, ladders, and chairs match?
TLC.
What is that?
Oh, you don't watch the wrestling in that? Not even
No.
I used to love the WWF.
That's very American.
Well, it's like tables, ladders, and chairs. So in the ring, there's tables, ladders, and chairs.
Yeah, I've never hit somebody with a chair.
Would be interesting. Well, that could be your first.
Could be your first.
If it was a tag team match, who would be your who would you team up with?
Not sure who I'd actually pick. Don't really know anybody who's into fighting. Yeah, I'm sure there's a few. I know there's a few dudes in my audience who are into martial arts and shit. I'd probably just ask them to email me and then set that up.
Get a good little corner.
I've got a couple of guys.
John Wayne Parr,
Robert Whittaker, Volkanovski. I'll just tag him in straight away.
Tag into pros.
All right. Well, Mr. Gaines, I appreciate your time. I know we don't see eye to eye on many things. It's probably because you're a little bit shorter than I am.
And smarter.
And a little bit smarter. But don't you nod at that. Fuck you.
He's like, I agree.
Well, mate.
He's smiling again. We got him.
Yes. Got him again. I appreciate your time, brother. And I know we don't always seem eye to eye, but I do wish you all the best with you and the missus and all that type of stuff. So Merry Christmas and fuck you.
Yeah, sure. Go fuck yourself too.
See you, mate. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, mate. Appreciate it.
Yeah, take
Bye-bye.
care.